Hi, my name is David Wolfin. I'm President and CEO of Avino Silver Gold Mines Limited. It's listed on Toronto and New York Stock Exchange under the symbol ASM. We're a junior silver and gold producer and explorer. We produced about 2.6 million ounces of silver equivalent last year. Our goal over the next 5 years is to go from a junior producer to an intermediate producer. And we're going to go from one producing asset to three organically because we own the three assets.
David, lovely to have you with us here today. Avino, it's not been on the platform today. We've never spoken before, actually. So keen to hear this story. A long time in the making.
Yeah.
A bit of history to this.
Well, Avino's been around for 57 years. My father founded the company. I grew up in the industry. We've been mining on and off for almost 40 years. But we're entering the largest growth phase of the company's history.
It sounds like, and that's what I want to get to, because when I started researching this, it kind of looks like an exciting 3 years, 4 years ahead of you. But talk through that, because some people might go, well, hang on, 57 years, that's a long time. Well, what's been happening during that phase, and why not kind of reincarnate it like some Canadians like to do?
Well, in the beginning, we owned 49%, and our partners were a private family. It shut down in 2001, and then I became president in mid-2000s, negotiated by the other half of the mine out, which happened in 2006. And then we put together a team, and we restarted up the operation, and we've been growing ever since.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about the team. So a bit of background on yourself. What have you done relative to what you're...
Yeah, so I grew up in the industry. My father founded the company. I worked in the mine as a teenager and learned the mining business from the ground up. I worked in Nevada. We had a leaching operation. We ended up selling to Barrick. And so I've been around the business a long time. And in the summers, I worked on the floor of the Vancouver Stock Exchange and then went full-time in two brokerage houses, and then joined my father in the 90s. So then, and then became president and an officer in 2000s.
Right. And the team around you, what are they? What's the makeup there?
So Carlos Rodriguez, he's our chief operating officer. He worked for a very large Mexican conglomerate back in the 80s. And at that time, they owned the San Dimas mine. It was run by Eduardo Luna. He's an icon in Mexican mining. And he made a big discovery for him. He's a geologist. So they sent him to Colorado School of Mines to get his degree. So that's who's running our operation, a first-class guy.
Right. Okay. Let's say, I do want to get into the next 4 years, but let's talk about the assets. Sure. Obviously, you got the Elena Toloro.
Yeah.
Right. And then we've got the Preciosa, which
Yes.
is obviously new. Also, I guess, going to be labeled, and because they're next door to each other, aren't they? Are they
Yeah.
effectively going to become one entity? Is that the end
Yes.
game here?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Everything's going to be processed at the Avino milling site.
Right.
La Preciosa is 19 kilometers away. We acquired it from Coeur Mining
Yeah.
in 2022 for $30 million. They paid $350 million buying out Orco Minerals in 2013. So we paid 10 cents on the dollar.
Right. So you did well there. And then we got the tailings component, which you're kind of going through the phases.
Oxide tailings, that's our third asset. We've done a pre-feasibility study.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a final feasibility study. And we're going to reprocess the tailings that we mined in the 70s and 80s because we open pit mine. That material was oxidized and it didn't recover well under conventional milling methods.
Right.
So all the profits are sitting in the waste pile. Now we can go and reprocess that material.
We'll come back to that in detail in a second. So if we look at the Elena Toloro and the mill,
Yeah.
Obviously it's been revenue's good, but it needs more to kind of drive that kind of bottom line, the net income.
Just
component,
wait,
margin, right?
Wait until March 12th. Our Q4 numbers are coming out.
Right.
So just to give you a little scenario, at the end of Q3, we had 7.8 million in the bank. At the end of the year, we had 26 million. Our margin is off the chart.
But at the moment, you kind of go through that development stage on the other projects. So the kind of free cash flow component will get there, but
we're generating free cash flow right now, about 12 million in Q4.
12 million in Q4.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
7.8 million to 26 million in 3 months.
Right, so you're going to build up a kind of the cash reserve
Yeah.
outside of the development work that you're doing
Absolutely.
on the two projects.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that?
We're going to use it to build the third asset. So we did, and the PFS, it calls for a $49 million capex.
Right.
So it'll be a standalone right beside the Avino project, 2,250 ton per day dynamic leaching plant and giant thickener tanks. And we'll use cyanide to leach it.
Right, and you go through with you said the PFS thing done, and that's as far as you need to take it on a project like that, right? There's
no, we're going to do feasibility.
You will do feasibility
because
as well.
we have time. We're a small team. We've got low costs, and so we're just trying to do it one at a time. So we've got Avino running on all cylinders. La Preciosa's coming online now this year, and oxide tailings. Our plan was to build it out. And it should be producing in 27, 28.
Right.
And this was our plan prior to the rally. If we can shrink that timeline, we will.
Right. And La Preciosa, we're talking about slightly higher grades as well.
3 times the grade of silver.
So feeding because we got silver, we've got gold, we've got copper.
Yeah.
Right. Is Preciosa, I assume, the same sort of ratio of
No,
distribution? No,
it's a different style of mineralization.
Okay, tell me more.
It's more low sulfidization quartz veins.
Right.
Where Avino's a stockwork system. It's a bulk tonnage, lower grade, but it's huge. It's massive. It's 50 meters wide and 400 meters long is what we're mining. So we're long hole sublevel caving.
Right.
Our cash cost per ounce is $15. The all-in sustaining in Q3 was about 22, but that's going down in Q4.
Right. Okay, so that's the underground, of course. So what do you do in terms of feeding that into the metal, in terms of like blending, etc.?
No, it's all feeding 20. So we have 4 independent circuits after the primary crushing.
Okay.
And so we're doing 2,500 tons per day. Okay. But because we have 4 circuits, circuit 1 and 2, we're going to change the feed mix from La Preciosa.
Okay.
So that'll be 500 tons per day.
Okay.
And then from that point, we can keep it separate. We produce a copper concentrate right now, which we sell to Samsung. It goes over to Asia, goes in all their electronics. Okay. And the other concentrate will be a bulk concentrate of precious metals. It's 90% silver and 10% gold. There's no copper in it.
Interesting.
And we expect to get over 90% recovery rates.
Right, okay. So margins will start to improve. Free cash flow really will start to improve. How long before all of this kind of integrates? So looking at some of the charts in your working material, the next 3 years look quite impressive. Yeah. That's also when they hopefully the tailings kind of kick in as well.
Yeah.
And start ramping up.
Yep.
So where does this end up with the assets that you've got in terms of ounces and pounds?
We want to get up between 8 and 10 million ounces of silver equivalent on an annual basis.
Right.
That makes us intermediate. The next competitor, Endeavor Silver, $1 billion market cap, produced less than 8 million ounces of silver equivalent last year. So we'll be on par with them. And so that's where we want to be. Our market cap right now is 200 million US. So that's 5 times.
Right. And are you on par on all metrics?
I wouldn't say on all metrics, no, but we have a huge resource.
Yeah.
We've got 75 million metric tons. Our processing capacity right now is between 700 and 750,000 tons. That's 100 years of mine life. We're not going to wait 100 years. We're already considering an expansion. Yeah. But we're doing drilling first because there's areas below the mine that have never been explored.
Right. Okay. And obviously Mexico's been through a little bit of a kind of revolution of its own, really, hasn't it? New presidenta in. Yeah. Good for mining.
Hard to tell, but we just announced we got our permits in La Preciosa, so Mexico is open for business.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're grandfathered. We've been there a long time. We're not doing a big disturbance. The previous owner, Coeur, was planning a giant open pit mine, which obviously wouldn't fly. They were going to disturb 3,500 hectares. We shrunk that down to 150. So the locals are really thrilled. We're not going to be disturbing their farmland, and we're going to be hiring up to 100 new people.
Okay, so get social license.
Yeah, well, we're in farm, agricultural and cattle ranching, so we're the #1 employer there. And when I go to the mine, I go there once a quarter. You can see all the cars in the parking lot, and there's the license plates are Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. I'm asking the COO, why is that? He says, because we're paying well. They're coming back home to work.
Oh, okay. The diaspora is heading home.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what's been missing for a while, and that kind of certainty around.
They go to the U.S. to
Yeah.
get jobs, but we're creating good jobs. We've got 450 people working for us now. We're going to add another 100 with La Preciosa and probably another 100 for oxide tailings. So we'll be up around 750 employees, which is fantastic for this area because there's not much else going on there. But the beauty of Avino and this area is infrastructure. Avino was discovered in 1558 by Captain Iber of Cortez's army. They claim to have found a mountain of silver. We're still mining it today. And so the beauty of that is infrastructure. There's 25,000 people that live within 30 kilometers of the mine. So we don't have to bring people in from far away and pay their travel costs. They can sleep in their own bed at night. And that's good too because we don't have any issues with the bad guys because we're in the high desert and farmland. We're not in a remote area.
The bad guys being cut out.
Yeah, there's not much activity that I'm aware of in that region because we're not on a coastline. We're not in an important area for them.
Right. Okay. And the business itself. You say you talk about one comp you've given about how your value versus them, and obviously there'll be a lot of variables in that. What else do you think you're going to need to deliver for the market to start recognizing? Is this strictly just about the bottom line? Reserve is the big thing for you guys, right? Okay.
So the thing is the Canadian banks all want reserves, and so I started up the mine with cash that I had and the engineers that worked there all along. So why am I doing a desktop when I'm actually making money? So it didn't make sense, but they need to check the box. So in Canada for 43-101, you got to have 3 years of 30 million in revenue. We've achieved that. So we're going to have reserves by the end of this year. But we do have a small amount of reserves on the oxide tailings because we did a PFS. That's 6.7 million. But it's going to go up dramatically with Avino when we turn those into reserves.
Right. Okay. Assuming everything goes well, and it's mining we're talking about, so I'm sure there'll be a few bumps along the road. But assuming it all goes as well as it can, what's the game plan for this thing? Are you going to check out soon, or is it because we saw a spate of acquisitions last year?
Yeah.
Big numbers.
There's
as well.
fewer silver companies.
Right. And with the numbers you've given, this is getting towards like a almost a pure play silver. Right?
49% of our revenue this year will be from silver, 19% from gold, and the rest from copper. But that's going to go up when we bring on La Preciosa. It will go higher.
Exactly. So that profile change. So it becomes interesting as a purer as a silver play.
With less competitors around.
Is that of interest to you, or do you think that you want to kind of continue to build this thing out? Whilst there are cash-strapped companies, whilst there are good silver assets which just need a little bit of help, what's your preference?
Right now, it's to keep blinders on and focus on what we're doing. We spun out non-core assets. Most juniors make the mistake of grabbing too much and they can't handle it all in a downturn, and then they blow up their market, the share structure. We're focused on preserving that. Our price to net asset value is 0.8. Our peer group is over 1. So we want to get there. If we get above that and we have equity leverage, then we might look to make acquisitions. But at the moment, we're just focused on our 5-year plan. If a larger company came in and made an offer, and then we'd have to deal with it at that time. But we're just focused on what we control, our costs, lowering our costs. And that's what we're doing by bringing La Preciosa on. That's going to, the higher grade is going to drive our costs down below $20.
Right. And I'm never one to ask people to kind of forecast metal price numbers, but obviously silver's had a good run last year, so did you, following that momentum, and you're in control of a lot of growth momentum yourself. But silver in an environment like this, I think finally the industrial usage case is understood and probably believed in a way it wasn't previously. How sensitive are you to that silver price movement in terms of your margin going forward? And what can you do about it?
How sensitive? Well, our all-in sustaining's like 20 to 22. So at 30 to 32, we're doing very well. Probably 35 to 50% margin. So we're doing fine even at these prices. But I think the consumption is going to remain high. I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, we've been in business now for several years with Samsung, and they said they've been mandated to find 10 more Avinos. So what does that tell you? And they're working on building a solid state battery that takes more silver. And that's going to revolutionize the EV market because it charges faster, the range is longer, it's less volatile. So we can't wait for that to come online, and solar panels and that sort of thing. So, and if you look at the Silver Institute, there's been a deficit for the past 3 or 4 years, and that's expected to continue. So I think the price has to go higher.
Are there new silver players coming through? Are you seeing many?
Pardon me?
Competition, I'm asking about.
Not too much, but there's explorers out there, but they're so far away from being able to monetize anything. We're there. We've got the infrastructure, so we're a lot further along.
And how do you feel about the market? Like if you're starting out in today's market, how confident would you be of making a go of it?
Well, everyone should own precious metals in their portfolio and not think about price. It's a form of insurance. So look where gold was 25 years ago at $300 or $400 out. Look where it is. It's going to continue going up because the printing presses and all the governments are just going, 24 hours a day. So I can't, they're going to bounce around, but I think the long term, gold's going higher and so is silver.
Thank you very much for introducing your story to our platform. Stay in touch. It's exciting.
Okay, yeah.
Exciting few months and years ahead of you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time to come here.